The views represented in this podcast are only held by the speaker and do not represent the DoD or U.S. Air Force.
A month from now, at the next meeting, we just forward the requirements to you, Peggy. You forward them on to Claudia, and then we can start a discussion to make sure we understand what those requirements are before you go to flip cause. And I see this as a two-pronged thing. You go to flip cause, Claudia, and you see what you can be billed, but we can already say we need the business part of that, which is an extra $25 a month. And then we have to ask the treasurer if we can afford that.
Yeah. So could we move that up a little bit? I mean, wouldn't you like to?
You froze. Yes, I'm happy to move it up. If Kara, can you move that up?
Have your thing by September?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let me jump in here. How about if everybody look at the website and say, in a perfect world, what do I want this to do? What should it be able to do, both as a board member and thinking not just your position, but all positions, and then also as a member of an organization, what would make this a website you would come to that you could do things that you can do. So you would go visit to update your information, to control your credit card, all that sort of stuff like that. So everybody, just no particular order, just brainstorm, put your stuff down. Don't worry about how pretty it is. Send it to me, get it to me in about 2 weeks or so. I'll put it all together and start working with Claudia to get, and Kara, we'll see how our schedules are going and everything, and try to get with the flip cause people to sort of chat and say, okay, now we got a better idea of what it is we want to be able to do. What can we do here, or do we need to start looking elsewhere type thing? And if so, then we can start working on prong 2 of this, on whether it's upgrade to the business thing, go find a completely different platform, go hire somebody to do something, whatever it is we need to do. Then does that make sense?
How does August 3rd look? Have our comments to Peggy by August 3rd. Gives us 2 weeks. And then as we keep thinking of things, we'll keep shooting them to you, Peggy. So this will kind of be a rolling requirements, but at least that'll give you something to go to flip cause with.
And if you want, send me multiple emails if you want to. I'll try not to lose them. But yeah, anything that you need like that, just go ahead and send it on in, and let's just do it. This is like we'll be doing like an email brainstorming thing. So no, nothing's ridiculous. If you know of another site that does something really cool, another organization site that you really like, point me towards it so we can kind of look and see, and go over and dig around that, and we can see what it does too. So
I'm going to contact a couple people too, of a couple of sites I know of that are similar to us, and I think they do have member areas. So I'll track that lead down.
Okay.
Last thing, Diana, you need to send me another picture of you, because the one on the website is such a
Oh my God, and I thought I was good looking until I saw that. Wow. Well, do you want one of a fish and me?
Sure. I mean, whatever. That one is like, I won't say how old it is, but also it's, it's like 60 pixels by 60. I mean, it's, you can see all the pixels.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
I just got my hair cut. Nancy just got my hair yesterday, and it's, another coronavirus haircut. I'll have to wear a hat or something. I don't know. Okay. So right. I got it. So, okay, everybody, we'll have our requirements. Let's not make this perfect. Let's just get it on paper and get it to Peggy. All right, perfect. Anything else, Claudia?
Have a great meeting.
Oh, wait, does anybody else have anything else for Claudia? Okay.
Claudia.
Fun to see everyone.
Have a great time.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen.
All right, Charlie, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Diana. And before we get started, Jen, any luck getting the meeting to switch over to screen share?
You should be able to now.
Okay, great. I'm gonna just test it really quick while I'm getting ready to, yep, it looks like it's good to go. So thank you for that. So I did not send out the email for the second meeting. We don't need it now, so we're good. And it also says that that Zoom would like to record the computer screen. Is anybody else seeing that? So are we good?
I see a recording in the top left corner.
Yeah, I just turned the
Oh,
recording.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because Peggy will want, I mean, not Peggy, Kelly will want to certainly be on. And Lucy, wherever Lucy went.
Oh, to see it later, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I, just so you guys know, for my portion, I've got a screen share thing. That's why we were trying so hard to get the screen share to come up. So thank you for that. Okay. So as far as opening comments go, I think we've got a pretty straightforward agenda here today. As I was talking to Diana yesterday, today I think is going to be a little more philosophical versus in the weeds. However, with one caveat that Kara, depending upon where we are with budget, we may need to get a little bit in the weeds on the money side, but if we're not quite ready for that, that's okay too. And other than that, with that kind of, we were talking about taking it up to the 40,000 foot view versus, you know, down getting ready to land. So I think we're going to talk some philosophy here in just a minute, and then it should be pretty quick, but kind of fun. So looking forward to it. Okay, back over to you, Diana, for the agenda. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. All right, Kara. You're up.
Okay, so I just sent out, I just replied all to Jen's agenda item for today. So if you check your emails, you should have a new email that has the attachment of our status of financial position for July. We are still in very good shape. It looks like, as far as a membership surge, I guess you'd say, back at the end of May, beginning of June, I think that aligns with something that the Navy hosted, and we saw probably 10 new members. Some of them were life, others were just your annual new members, but that was exciting to see. So there's some positive movement there. We got our deposit. Kathy, I deposited your fundraising efforts from Facebook. Happy birthday, belated, and earmarked that for the scholarship. So we are very much in the positive, partly because I do not have the information for our second scholarship recipient. I do not have her flight school. I do not have any of that information to get that check. And I've heard well, nothing from her specifically to me, not that I expect that necessarily, but if nobody else has heard from her, I find it a little odd that someone's not saying, hey, where's my money you promised me?
Yeah.
Kara, you might just want to, Kara, I would just say, contact Peggy Phillips on that.
I have. I know
Okay.
she's out enjoying life, it seems, and traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
So she is probably a little delayed in getting back to me.
Okay. I'll see if I can, I'll shoot her a text or something too, just to ask if she's alive and well. And
Well,
Yeah.
Facebook says she's alive and well. So I
okay.
figured that's why I said I know she's pretty much camping all over the Northwest right now.
Oh.
I do believe she's at least stateside.
Yeah, second scholarship.
Hey,
Okay.
Kara, if we had new members, can you shoot me their information so I can put them on the MailChimp for the
That's what I was
newsletter?
working on. If you saw me distracting as we were
Okay,
talking
good.
at the beginning.
Thank you.
So I'll get that sent out here shortly.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Perfect. And
One more question for Kara. On those flip cause notifications and everything, are you responding to those all those messages that are coming in
Yeah.
from them?
Yes.
So things like, it look like one's like, do you know who the first female something was? I didn't open it up yet, but when they're making general inquiries, are you looking at the, there's
I have not.
one,
I just look at
Richard Van
membership.
Steenbergen, who, any idea who the first female name, and it goes off the side there, but are you just looking at the ones that are
membership driven.
membership driven? Okay. All right. I will keep looking at these things and answering. Some of them are just like general questions. Who's the first, whatever type thing, or where's my nearest WMA chapter, which we don't have one. So,
Have those.
okay. Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't doing the same thing.
No,
We weren't
Thank you,
stepping
Peggy.
each toes. Okay. Thanks.
Peggy, let me ask you a question. Thank God you're doing that, Peggy. And it isn't coming into my mailbox. I appreciate that. But are we capturing that information that you just know and you just type a bunch of stuff? Are we capturing that so when we send everything to Jennifer, she already knows all that stuff and she can capture it one in the historical
Well,
site?
what this is through the website, people can, the contact us thing, and they hit that, and it goes into, if it doesn't go to a specific email, it just goes to the Flipcause mailbox. So you have to log on to Flipcause, the website side of Flipcause, and read these things. And sometimes it's, I've got like 2 or 3 of them about their Veterans Day parade or something like that. But sometimes it's, I just PCS, here's a new address. Well, I'm trying to find out who's the first this. I'm trying to find something historical. I've got a book out. It's these different things here. So it's a very widely scattered content. And sometimes it's spam. I'm looking for a wife type thing. I'm a Nigerian prince. So you delete those. But, so that's why a lot of times it's, I was trying to renew and it wouldn't renew. Why am I not getting my newsletter? Different things like this. So a lot of those come in that way. And I'm not really good about checking. It's just all of a sudden Kara says, and I go, oh crap, I haven't looked there in a while.
Yeah.
And we've got just a handful of new ones since the last time I checked, but sometimes there are ones that you want to circle back around and a lot of time. I have one where they were trying to get in touch with Olga Custodio to have her participate in a mentoring panel, which I posted on. Ultimately, I put him back to touch. She goes, "Oh yes, you bet I'll do that," type thing. And so a lot of times we're just connecting people together, helping them find somebody that's going to help do something. But I always make sure that it's okay with that. Hey, Olga, so-and-so is trying to reach you. Is that okay or whatever? Oh yeah, put me in touch type thing. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I was just meaning from a historical standpoint, who the first was, the second, whoever doing it, to make sure those type things. Don't send Jennifer the wedding invitation to Jennifer.
No.
Jennifer, I see the hand up. Yes, Jennifer.
Trying to get a word in.
You want the Nigerian prince? I'll give you the Nigerian prince's address.
So a lot of those messages, Peggy, goes to the board email too, the Gmail.
Right.
So I will take those that have to do with the historical or the Olga, and I'll forward those to Diane or to Charlie or to somebody. I'm trying to work that on my side as well. So maybe this is a good reason though for us to have some kind of consolidated list of this information, since you're getting stuff on Flipcause as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share that stuff with you so you've got that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else, Kara?
No.
Okay. Let me just ask a question. When do we have to okay the next budget? Is that October?
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta put one together first.
Okay.
Hey,
And I
Karen,
guess,
got a question for you. Is it possible to add an obligated funds obligated column so that we protect those monies that we've already promised for the scholarship?
So the report I send out is a constructed report. So I can look to see what other reports that we generate that could have the earmarked monies in that regards. That's typically the budget report. So the status of financial position is kind of a snapshot of what our balance are.
Okay, great. And it may not be something that anybody else is particularly interested in, but it would be nice to know that, hey, we've already earmarked this, we've already promised it. And then that way too, like you said, it's really unusual, or it seems kind of unusual, but maybe their flight school shut down, right?
Exactly. That's kind of where I was thinking, but
yeah. But then maybe we can circle back with them, and we certainly need to circle back with our number 2 scholarship winner. Has our number 1 scholarship winner, did she move out? Is she already, moving out as in getting it done, or?
they've gotten the money. She's got her reimbursement for the conference. So
Okay.
we're all squared with her. So it's
Great.
just the other one.
Okay, great. No, I just think that might be, and you probably, I'm sure you already have it earmarked somehow.
Yeah.
I don't have a way to quickly look at it and see what we've already obligated money wise. And so that would be great if there was something, especially if it's just a different format that you can push a button and it spits it out. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, along those lines, for the Nevada state tax exemption, we have to submit a business plan. So that might dovetail perfectly with the beginning of the new fiscal year on October 1. We can also not only have a budget, but have what we would call a business plan to submit to the state of Nevada.
Is that because we go to Reno?
Yes. That way
Oh.
we don't have to pay any tax in Nevada.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
It's a lot more complicated than Florida's was.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But
So,
we do a business plan, so.
okay. So
Right.
the next thing here is, Kara, we were holding off on figuring out about how much money to send over to, if we do want to send money over to the Naval Aviation Monument. We wanted to look at the monies, and my recommendation is, unless Lucy, you're saying that this is something that we really have to move out now, how about if everybody takes a look at the financial position for next time, and then we can vote on it at the next board meeting. Is that all right with everybody?
What I was going to recommend with that is, since we are pretty close to the October timeframe, is that we go ahead and put it in the budget for next year. Because I do think that our slush fund right now could absorb that cost, but it probably would be more fiscally responsible if we earmarked that money and donated it and took the credit for it, I guess.
Okay, and you'll come up, Kara, with maybe something that we can afford?
What I can do is we can look at what our extra monies are and look at what other opportunities there are as well.
Yes.
So that it's equitable across all branches. We can look something along those lines.
Was Kathy?
Did y'all see my email about it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. That's just something we could put in the standing rules to deal with these things in the future.
Yeah, and Jennifer has that. We don't review those standing rules until later on, I don't know, September, October. So we'll look at it as a package as we keep adding things to it. So, Kathy, did you have a comment no, it was probably Lucy. Okay, any other comments on this before we move on? I'll put it on for our next time.
I'm assuming we can just send a donation to WMA and earmark it for the memorial. That be okay,
Kara, I think so, right?
Karen?
I'm sorry,
So
you were really
went
broken up. I
online-
didn't know what exactly you said.
So if I go online and I say, okay, send a check to WMA, and in the remarks section, I put in there Navy Memorial, then that money would, and then I'll follow it up with an email to you saying, hey, here's
Yes.
some money for the memorial. We can do that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll leave this for when we discuss the budget. And when will we be discussing the budget, Kara? If it's due in October, do we discuss it in September?
Yes.
Okay, for September. All right.
I might reach out to a few of you ahead of that so that you can kind of scrub what I've proposed before we bring it to the rest of the group.
Okay, sure. Since we've gone through 37 minutes, my recommendation, Kelly isn't here. We'll put her update on for next time. And Jennifer, unless yours is time sensitive on the pregnancy issue, let's go ahead and leave that for next time. And then we have miraculously gone down to Charlie on strategic planning.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'm gonna try to share my screen here if I can get back to the full Zoom meeting. Hang on just one second. Are you still with me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not coming up quickly. Hang on. It's just not giving me the buttons to switch over to the sharing. So, oh, here we go. All right. let me know when you see something that looks really weird.
Sometimes you have to go to the very top toolbar and do a drop-down menu, do preferences.
Yeah. All
Mm.
right. Still not. Oh, it's slowly coming up. So, yep.
By the way, sorry I left you guys for 20 minutes. I'm in the backwoods of western North Carolina.
I was going to ask you why you're sitting in your car if you lost your keys to your house or something.
Oh, I was trying to drive to a better connection, and I lost everything for like 20 minutes. And now I'm in Rutherford 10, and I got a signal. So here I am.
Oh,
Okay. Can anybody see my screen? Sorry. I'm just going to, nobody can see it.
no,
yet?
no.
You.
Shoot. All right. Well, I don't know why. Any other thoughts on how I can get this so that you guys can see it?
Let me
It's
see
always
if I
like-
can share mine. Maybe their permissions didn't come through. No,
Are you-
I can see mine
Are
fine.
you on a Mac, Charlie?
I am.
Oh,
Because if you very top toolbar and click on Zoom, drop down menu preferences, and then it'll say you can share screen.
Yep. And I've already clicked that.
Oh.
and Still not
Uh,
sharing.
hmm.
Yep. I've got Zoom.
And then a green prompt at the bottom when you actually want to share.
Yep. And I've hit share screen.
Hmm.
Got desktop. Tell you what, I'm going to try to just let it do PowerPoint and see if that'll come up. Anybody see anything? It should be
no,
a very blue slide.
no.
Still
Wait,
no.
wait.
Hey, here we are.
Ah,
Yay.
Hey.
Awesome. All right. Cool. Okay. Well, that was good. All right. So, so really what I wanted to kind of bring us through today was just a little bit of a talk on strategy in and of itself. And I've been blessed to have gotten to learn a lot about strategy in the last couple of years, whether I wanted to or not. And however, I'm going to take all that benefit and apply it here to WMA. So one of the biggest things that probably caught my attention, and again, it's been a couple of years, was working with a company called the Gartner Corporation. Gartner's kind of like the RAND Corporation, and they're basically a giant think tank, and they, for a lot of money, the government pays them to come in and help us figure out how we can do things better. So, so in applying all the lessons that they've blessed me with on the military side, I'm again just going to steal all that great knowledge now and apply it over here to our organization. So, so with that being said, I know when I was in strategy meetings, et cetera, it would be like, okay, we're going to put a 10-year plan and we're going to build our 15-year plan and we're going to come up with all this great stuff. And everybody hated going to those organizational strategy meetings because they were just torture. And now the current industry standard is if you've got anything out in a strategy beyond 2 years, you're losing it. There's no reason to have anything that goes beyond 24 months because the landscape changes so quickly now. And of course, my indoctrination into this is on the tech side, and it changes basically minute to minute, as you know. So, so with that being said, we're looking really at a 2-year strategy, a 24-month strategy, which perfectly lines up with our board terms, if you will, and and that works. So that's what we're kind of looking at here is a 2-year strategy, and then, but it has to be revisited early and often. So with that kind of as a baseline, I wanted to come up with something that was what I call a one-page strategy so that we can just have some simple way of saying, okay, what exactly are we doing here? And, what's the purpose? If we need a 20-second elevator speech to tell some young kid that we just met who says, oh, you're a pilot, I'm really interested. And so we know, what's the purpose of WMA and how are we going to plug into that young aspiring aviator, or perhaps we meet a WASP, or perhaps we meet somebody who's in WAI and they say, well, tell me about WMA. Why should I join WMA? I was a military pilot, but I've never even heard of it. So that's what we're kind of getting to is, is what could we use to get us all on the same page, or any of our members on the same page, so that we have that quick snapshot understanding of the purpose, the vision, the mission behind WMA and where we're headed. So I want to caveat this with, this is for draft purposes only. I've put some ideas down on paper. This is in no way, shape, or form finalized. This is all dependent on having this conversation with you guys and seeing where we want to go collectively. So again, this is a starting point only. There is nothing final about this. To include all the graphics, this was just a very layperson attempt to come up with something for a single page strategy. So with that being said, if we capture our 3 basic elements, was kind of where I decided to start, of preserving the past, promoting the present, and protecting the future, and then trying to lay everything out under those 3 areas. As far as, if I start with the preserving the past, capturing our legacy, and making sure we're leaving a legacy. What is it that we want this organization to do, and why would we, again, share this with others? And then we kind of get into the donation side. And again, these are big rock items that a lot of other things fall into. The basic ones, and there's going to be plenty more in each category. Again, this is a starting point. For promoting the present, mentoring and taking care of our current membership. And there's a lot of things that fall into that category. And then, of course, working on different issues, policy improvements, etc. For the future, increasing our outreach, baking in the diversity that we talked about at the business meeting, broadening the scope of our organization, and improving communication. Those were the areas that kind of the bigger titles that other things fell into. And now I'm going to kind of move over into and we'll take each one individually. But under capturing our legacy, making sure we've got our organizational history captured, as well as the individual stories of our members, and through the oral history program, etc. And then trying to raise funds to perpetuate these efforts. So making sure that that we keep an inbound source of revenue in order to keep after this, because there is a cost involved with it. And I'm a little bit debating myself on whether philanthropic donations to other organizations fits under this, but it is a way to capture achievements. Like Lucy, you had brought up the donations to the naval, sorry, I'm losing the title now, but anyway, the remembrance.
Naval Aviation Monument.
Thank you, the monument, yes. And so that is preserving the past, and yet it doesn't necessarily always have to be along those lines, but again, something that we can talk about, but making sure that we are yet again being mindful of helping not only our own organization, but others as well. Kind of moving over to the present, looking at the buddy checks that we've been doing, of course, as part of our mentoring and taking care of our current membership, which has been phenomenal, by the way. Of course, the big ticket items, the conference with our Flight Suit Social as our premier event at this moment. Do we want to do more? Do we need to do less? What do we want to continue with WAI? Do we want to do something totally different? But what does that look like, and how do we want to take care of those current memberships, even as we also use those platforms to help us preserve the past, as well as pulling in future members. Scholarships, again, another fantastic way of taking care of kind of the current crop of folks. Is that future? Is that current? I could see where the argument could be made either way. Issues as far as policy improvement. Again, I just put the one up there, the rent the camo that we talked about last week. Many issues, Dakowitz related issues, pregnancy, etc. Those would all fall under that area. So items that we want to make sure that we're researching and investing in. And this is where the conversation on pulling WMA in and branding WMA, if we want to go this route as the organization, the voice that is the starting point for voices for women in military aviation. Do we want to, push that branding with lawmakers, with Congress, to get ourselves in a position where when people say, and I used this example yesterday with Diana, if somebody says, hey, we're working with Baker to build a new ejection seat and we want to consider different centers of gravity, and women usually, have a different center of gravity than men, therefore we want to, hey, WMA, can you put us in touch with the right groups to get this conversation started? Things like that. Do we want to be known as being the point of contact for those types of issues? So that's on the issue and policy improvement. And then under protecting the future, making sure that we're increasing our outreach. We've talked again recently about appealing to the young professionals and perhaps starting some sort of a young professionals group within WMA or something along those lines. Building in diversity from the ground up and broadening the scope. Again, these are some of the issues that we talked about at the business meeting back in March. Diversifying through age, race, aeronautical ratings, exactly how broad do we want to go here? And then improving our communication. And this can come down to our improvements that were already, well underway with our social media and website. So this is kind of the starting point to try to capture this in a visual for us to discuss. My next steps are to take your feedback and move stuff around, erase stuff, delete stuff, add stuff, whatever we decide for today. And then I'm also doing a line-by-line scrub through the bylaws and standing rules to make sure that we've kind of captured the intent that is within WMA historically. And that will also feed into our conversation moving forward on any changes, et cetera, that we want to propose for the bylaws and standing rules. So that's a lot of words. I'm gonna open this up for conversation.
Looks great. Is this the last slide that brings it? This is the last slide, right? Your one that we're looking at now, Charlie?
Yep, sure is.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Let's not forget over here on Promote the Present, we've got the Flight Suit Social and the WAI convention. Whatever we're going to call, I know what we're not going to call our little reunion get together. We won't, for Kara's sanity, we won't call it reunion. We're going to call it, I don't know, mini fly-in and things like that. But
You can call it, let's see, you can call it a reunion if you put it under preserving the past.
oh. Good, touche, touche. Oh, I don't know, my bones just got more rigid the way, So I think that's, I'm just throwing that in there. I know this isn't all encompassing yet, but it will be. But I like it. It certainly gives, it's a one-page, oh my God, that's right. We could do all that. And yeah, I think that it's very succinct. So Jennifer, does this answer help you? I mean, as we develop this, answer the question when you're talking to those young aviators out there, why you want to come and be in WMA?
I mean, it scratches on the surface. I guess really, I mean, do we want to become chapters? Do we want to be national? Do we want to be international? Do we want to have an overarching organization in DC that connects with lawmakers and influences policy? What is like the ultimate kind of vision of where we're going?
And I'm glad you brought that up, Jennifer. And I know I only kind of touched on that. It is my firm belief that right now, we are not in a structurally sound position. And I don't mean financially, I mean a structurally sound position to jump into something like that. If we were to say, hey, Congress, we are the voice for women, military, and aviation, and they came back and they said, okay, here you go, figure this whole ejections thing out. I don't know that we've got the people resources right now because we're a group of volunteers who are doing this part-time. We don't have financial depth as far as corporate resources go. There's a lot of structural things that we could do to put ourselves in that position. Now, if they're looking for a group of very passionate volunteers who can go out and call on, their network of friends to do some heavy lifting, we can do that all day long. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And yet, like you said, do we want to move to chapters? That's exactly what this is supposed to generate, this type of a discussion. That's not something we can just do easily overnight. We're going to have to build up that framework. And it's going to take a lot more time and effort than perhaps this group can put in right now. Do we need to work towards a paid position to have somebody, starting to get that off the ground? Does that violate our nonprofit status? If we would have to set it up correctly in order to make sure that it didn't. And so, there's just so many questions about taking all of this, which is phenomenal, and we want to get after this, and then moving to that next step of, okay, so now this is kind of what we're saying we want to do. Now, how do we get there? So I think we've got many, many, many more conversations to come, but I think those are great. And I wrote down a lot of the questions you just asked. Do we want to have chapters? Do we want to have a designated DC office with reps that can talk with lawmakers? Do we?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm kind of thinking and wondering as we are kind of looking at our bylaws and we're looking at the standing rules, I mean, I like our standing rules, but man, they're really sophomoric. And I feel as though if we have a vision of becoming a more established organization, and absolutely, I get it. Like, we're not ready to launch into any of those things. And this strategy is for 2 years, but the long term, like, what is the vision for WMA in 5-10 years? Is it just to be, something for a sorority and we just lean on each other, or and this is all the question, right? Like, or do we want to try to get more involved in Congress and get more involved, kind of like the VA or the, what is it? Not VA, but the Veterans Foreign Wars, right? Like, what do we want to become? That's my big question.
Right. Nope. Agree completely. Any
I have a couple of comments on the, helping, I don't want to say maybe develop policy. And
or
everybody always says, put a box around our 503C, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we can take that a long way from educating people and things, but we do have to make sure we understand the line between being political, which we can't be, and the line between being educational, which we can be. And I know a lot of people thought when we stomped up on the Hill that we were political. We were not. We were clearly educational. So I think sometimes people get weak knees that we're taking on something political, but as long as we keep it in the educational realm. On the historical part about the chapters, Jennifer, we did have chapters back in the day. We started with regions is what we called it. And it broke down. Not that we can't do this again. I think it would be good, especially as we have more retirees out there and people aren't moving around as much. I think that's very doable. It broke down before because we'd have people in the Northeast region, the bottom part of DC and up to the Northeast. And then all of a sudden in 2 years, everybody flipped out of there and went to California or somewhere in the Midwest. So it's something that I think then it was very difficult to do, whereas now, because a lot of our memberships are retired, not that I want to put us in the preserving the past, it's just that we are, I don't want to say more stable, we're in one place longer than moving. So I think certainly that's something that we can do, and we don't have to wait to put that together if we wanted to. I know in DC they get together, not all the time, but at least twice a year for, Sunday brunch and a few drinks and things. So I think it's very good. Lucy, are you still around? Is Lucy checked out? Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, I'm
Lucy,
still
what do you
here.
think?
I'm by a busy highway, so I went to mute.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
Yeah, I love your PowerPoint graphic there, Charlie. You know how they say 75% of all learning is visual, so we pilots love that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
but the buddy check thing got so many good inputs that I think that buddy check is a very good point for your promote the present and keep in touch with everybody and get ideas flowing in, because it was amazing the interchange I got from talking to people. So that was excellent.
Peggy,
Good.
what are you thinking? I see your mind's running there.
Yeah, no, I like the way that we're trying to put all this in there. I agree with pretty much everything that, the buddy checks and all that. The outreach thing, the more we're touching people and interacting with them, the stronger the organization gets.
Exactly.
And one of the things, though, we need to do is we need to get more volunteers active in the organization. So it's not the same Kelly, Diana, Peggy, Lucy, those of us who have been around forever are still the ones doing all these things. There should be the younger ones should be doing it. So I think that needs to be something we need to, I don't know the magic way to do it. I don't have the magic touch to go and get the younger folks to follow, but having Jen and Charlie here is like, yay, new faces, new people who have the ability. You are more the generation to turn around to the younger generation. I'm like their grandmother, and they're like, get out of here, old lady type thing. So I think that somewhere in there that could plug in to something.
What do you guys think about? And as Charlie and I were discussing yesterday, I was saying how, WIDA or something like that, the thing that Carolyn Beecraft was in charge of for a while, and then they had Laura Manning there, and she interacted with a lot of people who did studies, and Congress went to that organization kind of as the first entry point into helping get things coordinated. That was a paid position. And I know the Whirly Girls is, the executive director is also a paid position. And I don't oppose that. In fact, I think that might be something, I don't know if it's doable in 2 years, but Kathy Kozan, now that you're retired and you're, getting more donations and things, is that something that we as an organization might want to strive for continuity purposes? I mean, the paid position helps the board with continuity and takes on some of these taskers that takes a whole lot of work, and a lot of the volunteers don't have that. Is that something you guys think is something that we might want to do, or do you think WMA should not even look at that down the road?
I think that like, for example, Kelly being involved with Dakowitz and that kind of thing, and having a voice on Capitol Hill. What probably we need to do when we're reaching out to these corporations, like for example, the working relationship that we have with Lockheed now. Okay, so what we may need to look into is like a corporate liaison person that when we talk about ejection seats, Martin Baker and that kind of thing, that we can go to Lockheed Martin and go, do you have studies on this with center of gravity and all kinds of stuff, so that if we have somebody that is already talking and friends, party friends, whatever, social friends with people at these corporations, then that might facilitate and give us more, I want to say gravitas, more, I can't think of the word. But
Yeah, impact, yeah.
That kind of thing. I just spent an hour on the phone with a gentleman at USAA last week, talking to him about, fundraising through USAA. Granted, USAA has nothing to do with, any of the aviation related themes, other than the fact that, you know, that hopefully we can get some money from them. So, while we were all talking about this, what we may need to look at is like a corporate liaison for some of these aviation related issues.
I think that's a great idea.
I agree. I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to try to capture all of these great ideas that you guys are bringing up for the next iteration of this. And we'll just keep this a live, living document and keep adding to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's it. If we want to move WMA in that direction, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do to include having folks on various boards, so that they're on multiple boards, so that, you know, their voice cross pollinates, if you will. And that would be very similar, I think, Kathy, to that corporate liaison position idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for all of you, Diana, I was able to talk to Carolyn yesterday.
Oh, oh, great. Carolyn Beecraft.
Yeah, and she says hello to everybody. That was the first time that I've met Carolyn Beecraft, and she says hello. And in fact, she is very gracious, and she sent me a follow-up email this morning. And she was really happy to hear that we had a corporate sponsor this past FSS. So she was very, very excited to hear that. And then she had a couple, I was picking her brain basically for ideas on how to help move WMA forward. Nice yay in the sky, whoever's skywriting. Awesome.
Yeah, that was me getting silly, but yeah, you talked to Carolyn.
Yeah, no, very, very nice lady, and really nice to meet her. So, but anyway, she has a few ideas that I'm going to kind of chew through and maybe circle back with her on, and certainly share those with you guys. Things like, you know, ideas for perhaps having the ladies that flew the flyby at Rosemary's funeral, having them be one of the a panel, so that they can talk not just about the flyby, but about all the things that they did, you know, leading up to that. And I'm very, I know y'all haven't seen the newsletter for this month yet, but when Sophia gets that out, it is packed full of great information on the taking of the hill and all of that. So anyway, just a lot of that goes to kind of that historical background, and which is wonderful. And I'm also trying to pick her brain for moving into the next generation, you know, and pulling those folks up, which brings me to my next point I wanted to bring up with you guys. In the let's see, paragraph 3.9 of our bylaws or standing rules. Let me see which document I've got open here. But anyway, it's called Nominating and Tellers Committee. That's something I've never even heard us talk about. And that's basically creating our own replacements, you know, building our own replacements and making sure that we are preparing now for the next iteration of WMA's board. And I truly want to make sure that we incorporate that as well. And that's one of the things that I think will go into, you know, again, it does all of this, but I think it definitely goes into the protect the future part. But I wanted to bring that up as well, because that's something near and dear to my heart. I should be training my replacement right now. And you should all be training your replacements right now. And identifying them, at least to yourself, and maybe subtly identifying them so that they know that they're being groomed for these positions. And let's really start getting after that one, because that's going to be here before we know it. And we want to make sure that we're capturing that. I'll also say one of the things Carolyn brought to my attention, she asked me how many active duty folks or folks still in uniform we had on our board. And so I gave her the numbers, and she said that was one of the things that she thought would be indicative of the health of our organization, was not to only have active folks on there, but to have a nice mix. I think this is a way that we, even if they weren't necessarily showing up on our little Brady Bunch screen right here, but if we can pull folks in to these committees, then Peggy, I think that was your point earlier, you know, having more folks involved, convincing them that they do have the time, they can make the time, and it's worth it, and it's worth their while, because then as they move into the higher ranks and then retire, now maybe they can come back and they've still got all that great experience to build on. So I think we've got, you know, a great, well, we've got a great board right here, and I'm happy as everything with this board right here. That's phenomenal. I also want us to all be looking to groom our replacements so that we know who's coming next. And even if we don't know exactly who's coming next, we have a wider selection to pick from. Any thoughts on that one?
Yes, when we do the buddy checks, you know, put a star, put something, highlight anybody that you talk to that just seems like they're just dedicated and ready to go. I mean, I've already done that on a couple of people. Maybe they're not ready to be a board member yet because they're going to school and they're just too covered up with what they're doing right now. But certainly they could take time aside. I already asked one to take time aside to be maybe on the scholarship committee. You do it once a year, and then that, you know, leads into being the scholarship chair or something like that. So yeah, I just want to back up one, Charlie, when we talk about the vision, and I know everybody probably saw what the last board came up with, and I know there are a couple papers floating around there that somebody wanted kind of to take over and do absolutely everything. And WMA kind of, you know, I'll say it's the Oklahoma land grab. And I think as we move forward, we become stronger by liaisoning with WAI, the 99s, the Whirly Girls. I know nobody likes that name, neither do I, but they're a great bunch of gals. And I think one thing that women bring to the table is our egos are though very big. We can reach out and we don't try to take a piece of pie from other people. We make the pie a whole lot bigger, or we have everybody have a pie. So we need, as we go forward, to make sure we tap into these other organizations, not as a threat, but as a maybe declaration that as we pull together, we can do so much more. And I know that there are military members that are members of the Whirly Girls that are not members of WMA. So one, we need to rectify that, but if they don't want to be part of WMA, I mean, that's okay. It doesn't mean that we can't, if we need help, reach into that organization in a nice way and ask for their help on a case-by-case basis. So I think that's something that we are all very good at. So any other comments on this?
Something a little bit kind of with it, but off the subject, I guess. While I was down in San Antonio 3 weeks ago, I spent about 3 hours with the historians down there, and they gave me about 20 years worth of UPT graduation lists.
Wow.
And so I've been going through them and pulling out the people that I think are women, so that we can start having a feel for the numbers. And kind of like where the Navy is. I mean, I'm just going to start putting graduation dates on there and putting them on an Excel spreadsheet. And then I thought, you know, maybe we could start trying to reach out to some of the people that were in their classes that we have that, you know, might be able to confirm or whatever, and, you know, make sure the information's correct. And who's a girl, who's not a girl, because some of the names could be girl, maybe not. And so just for grins, I'm combing through a lot of those documents. They had to scrub them for Social Security numbers and get clearance to send them to me. But they did send me a whole bunch of them.
Oh, yay.
That's
Hey,
always happy.
So at least from the Air Force side, we've got some documentation, and then maybe I can send them to Jen or something, and that way we can have it archived, that those are sitting somewhere.
Mhm.
so that I'm not the only one that has them.
Also share them with your historical committee, because we've got some of the early mailing lists that we used to get, because a personnel center used to give us the mailing labels for all the female aviators in the Air Force back in the day. And we would just have these big mailing parties and send out recruiting letters and such.
Wow.
So we've got some of those lists too, but those are from, I think, back in the 80s. I don't think we've got anything more recent than that, because then they quit doing it for privacy. When they dissolved the female aviator office in the personnel center, they quit having that aspect of it.
Well, one of
So-
the things I found out with the public affairs down there right now, they're really big on, and a couple of the questions that they asked me is, why do you think that we don't have more women pilots right now? Why don't we have more minority women pilots? And so that was kind of, they kept asking that over and over again. And I thought, you're recruiting command, shouldn't you be figuring this out? But basically I said, you got to get to these, got to get to the people when they're young. STEM programs, junior ROTC, Civil Air Patrol, that kind of stuff, get the word out to them early and, realize that, the job is out there for them also. It doesn't, you don't need a silver spoon, but you gotta work for it.
Yeah, Kathy, just for some of my background is OTS. I worked with Recruiting Command a lot, and they have multiple issues that are systemic. And the fact that they even are asking that question shows their complete ignorance and inability to actually execute on their mission. Just saying.
Doesn't Jeannie Levitt have recruiting service?
Yeah, and she was actually in the room with me, and for some odd reason, I don't know what it is when I'm around Jeannie, I must have like a push-off magnet or something like that. But I didn't get to talk to her at the Flight Suit Social. I really wanted to talk to her there, and I didn't get to talk to her while I was down in San Antonio. It was like, we're in this tiny little room, but she's always got other people around her. And
Yeah.
so I didn't, it was like, whatever it is, it must be me.
You're participating in a very artificial, top-level kind of approach to things by just putting people that look like the type of people they want to recruit into those positions, like General Levitt and minorities. But like their whole program, and I've engaged with them a couple times. Like their recruiting system is it's baffling that they even are able to bring people in the Air Force. I mean, 2% of America is even available for military service, and 60% of that 2% is women. So why are we still recruiting 90% men? It doesn't make any sense.
I get a little frustrated with it, I guess, because it's like, you're the experts here. Why are you asking me? Shouldn't you know who you should be going after? I mean, I can tell you, go to the elementary schools, go to the inner city schools, talk to these kids. Get volunteers to go in there in their uniform. I've done it often enough, gone to high schools and junior highs and Brownie troops and stuff like that and talk to these kids. And it's like, it's not rocket science, just keep it going.
Yeah,
But,
we
oh, well.
actually, in WMA used to do that. We used to have a person that kind of, put together like a little slideshow and a little briefing chart, and they'd go off to the elementary school and they were available. And this kind of goes back to Jen, you brought up the chapters.
Yeah.
They would identify the people in the region POC, and ask if they wanted, especially Women's History Month in March, can we have somebody dressed up in a flight suit or a uniform come and talk? And it was a big hit. So, that's something that I'm sure as we go along, all these great ideas, we used to have them and then, fizzle out. And just like Peggy was saying, we need to reach out and get some more volunteers. And maybe a great way to do that's when you're, circle the names on the buddy checks of the people who actually call you back and talk to you, so might be something to do. Okay, Charlie, what do you want us to do for you? Send you any ideas that we have in the next few weeks?
Sure.
What's the next step?
Of course, yeah. So like I said, the next step for me is to incorporate what we just talked about, as well as continue my line by line, making sure that I'm making this that you're seeing in front of you match what we currently are showing with our standing rules and bylaws. And then what I'd like to do is have kind of okay, so this is kind of where we are. This is what we're looking at right now. Do the bylaws match all of this? Have we incorporated everything that we need to into the bylaws or not? And standing rules, sorry. And then furthermore, if some of this, our wish list, our dream sheet, if you will, where do we want to go? And then Jen, to your point earlier, that's what's going to take us out of the strategic look and start really honing in on, okay, now what's our vision for the future? And then we can start tweaking our strategy of how to get to that vision, how to achieve that vision. So, so I think that's kind of where I'm going with this. Any thoughts, ideas, totally welcome. Again, I have zero pride in authorship of this. This is really a compilation of all the different documents I've been reading, every conversation that we've had, all of my notes, just trying to create a basic structure from which to build from. So, so anyway, I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna keep this a living, breathing document. I'm gonna keep the for training purposes only stamp on the front of it, so that we know it's not anything final. It's still very much under construction. Please feel free to send me anything. I didn't want to give you guys homework for this because it is still so under construction. However, depending upon what you like, I can send this slide to you. And then as you're kind of chewing through things, if you say, well, you know what, I think this should move over here, and oh, wow, we totally forgot about this, it should go under this one. You know, and then we can just kind of go from there. Would you like that? Would you rather me just go ahead and send you out this slide?
Yeah, I think so.
I got an idea. If you send us the slide, then have each board member send you 3 bullet points, one for each of the clouds, what they think would be add to those 3 clouds.
Sure.
Or
Sure.
select.
Or 20 or 17. I will take anything that you want to send me that you have time for. Now, notice things like, you know, we don't have anything on here about specifically about the budget. You know, we've got donations and endowments and things like that, scholarships that feed into the budget, of course. But, you know, there are business elements that aren't necessarily captured in our strategy. So think about it along those lines too. Are there, you know, as far as our outreach to build up corporate sponsorship, you know, those should come in here somewhere. And I want to make sure we're capturing all of that. So please, whatever your lens is, look at it from your area of expertise, your area of passion, and feel free to fill in the blanks, create blanks, move stuff out of the way, whatever. So enough for me. Thank you.
So, Charlie, let me ask a question. How close hold do you want us to hold this? If we know somebody that likes strategy and has been in the organization a while, do you want us to, if you have for training purposes only on here, do you want us to share this to get some feedback from other people? Or do you want us to keep this more close hold to the board for now?
I don't think this is anywhere close to being ready for any kind of prime time because it's so thin, you know, right now. This is just a very basic starting point. So I guess as far as that goes, it's certainly not ready to share with the membership.
No.
Yeah. So
I was trying to find somebody to help me get my 3 pieces per cloud. Thank you very much, Lucy. You know? So, okay. All right.
You can totally share it in that capacity, you know, all day long. I don't think it would hurt anything.
Okay.
As long as we're not trying to say, hey, this is all we're doing and this is what we're doing. This
no.
This probably only captures, you know, 5% of what we're actually doing. And I want to make sure we capture all of it. So.
Yeah. I can see that, Kathy, your corporate sponsorship is, you know, I think this is a good kickoff and thing. And I can't wait.
Wrote it down.
I can't wait to see the committee that you're building. I said, you know, 10 years from now, when there is, you know, maybe a point of contact, maybe a person who is actually on, you know, a paid staffer, you know, the small paid, that we can reach out and touch and help organize this. I think you'll see this organization maybe take off. and be a viable part if that's what we all want. I just want to kind of come to, reunion, sorry, Kara, and, just kind of hang out and stuff. But it'd be nice to look out and say, oh, WMA is in the news in a good way, that they helped fix something, whether it's the gloves, the flight suit, the gloves to fly in, or the flight suits, or the boots, or, let's quit replowing all this ground and put a woman in charge and get it done, so. Okay, so moving right along, if we don't have any other thing to say on strategic planning, our next meeting is August 16th. I put number 5, some of these carryover items, again, just so they don't, fall off the radar. So Lucy, do you have any questions, comments, and concerns before we move on?
Nope. I'm still working on that list. I need to send out handwritten notes now to the people that I couldn't get a hold of electronically.
Okay, Jennifer?
Nothing for the group.
All right, Kathy?
Just something on the Peppermill. I was in contact with them. They're not coming back to work again till September. They were up and running for about a week, and I managed to confirm that we got the 25-room block. And then I have some work to do again with Carissa at WAI. Somehow I thought we had the agreement already that we have the room, but the Peppermill's still kind of unsure with that. So, and I need to work with Kara on the MOU with WAI, because I really don't know where to start with that. And Kara, having been on the board before, would be a good liaison. I have sent the menu, it's like 30 pages long, to Trish Beckman and to Sophia Connerly. So they have it, but like I said, we're on hold to be able to do anything until after September.
Okay, Peggy, anything else? Okay, good luck with the patient, in the end of the,
Thank you.
yeah. So don't anybody task poor Peggy for the next 3 weeks or so, because she's got her hands full there.
No, it's still some of your inputs for the website and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Right.
go ahead and do that. But if I'm not, just jumping back and responding, it's because I'm nursing. I'm on nurse duty. So.
Yeah. If you need any help with the tractor, I'm happy to come out and,
Can you weld? We've got some broken welds on the John Deere. If you could do that in the front end loader.
Oh,
can
but
you do
how
that?
hard could this be?
Hey, Kathy,
Kara, any questions, comments, or concerns?
question for Kathy real quick. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Kathy. Yeah. For the Peppermill, sorry. Do we know a date of which, like if I've got a reservation at the Peppermill, is there a date by which now we have to cancel it if the event is going to be canceled? Do we have any of those types of dates yet?
If they're not open and the convention is canceled, they have my credit card information, but they said that they will not charge my credit card for any kind of deposit or anything like that for the room.
If the event is canceled?
If the event cancels, there should be absolutely, like I said, they said they took my credit card information, but there has been nothing charged on it.
Okay, I just don't want you getting stuck.
Oh, no.
no.
No, and I've never had any problem with any of these places. Usually it's 2 weeks before to cancel, and everything's fine.